All right, can I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Just a reminder for everyone, next month's meeting will be Tuesday, June 11th. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. We have the minutes from March 12th as amended. I think they were circulated online. So is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 12th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes of April 9th, I am still reviewing those because of the cell tower discussion. I'm just being very careful with them right now, okay?
There was a lengthy night.
The minutes are 41 pages long, just so you know, okay? So they're, it was a long evening. There was a lot to review there. So the minutes of April 29th, which was our special meeting, 2 of you were not here because you're recused on the matter. So Mary or Barbara, do I have a motion to approve the very short minutes of April 29th? So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so these minutes are approved. All right, folks, just so you understand the process of tonight, there is no cell tower decision or anything on our agenda for this evening. We'll deal with that at the June meeting. So the first thing we're going to do is take up there's one adjourned public hearing. That means we've already had one public hearing before, but there were some issues that came up that had us continue that. Then we'll do the new public hearings, which will be the first time, if you got a notice that invited you to come tonight, this will be the first time we're actually hearing that appeal. And you as a neighbor might have more information that we would have available to us, not necessarily being as close to those sites. Lastly, there are a couple reviews. These are pretty much new applications that we have before us that pretty much they're the first time or maybe the second time this board is reviewing those. So those will not have an opportunity for public comment tonight. They're just going to be an opportunity for the board to review those applications to see what they're asking for. So that being said, item number 1 is an adjourned public hearing, Appeal 3618 Meyer. William Meyer, 4 Spring Meadow Lane, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 45-foot rear line variance for a proposed 11-foot by 16-foot garden shed pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance.
A motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we are reopened. Mr. Meyer, when last we saw you, your neighbor brought to our attention that there was an issue regarding where the rear line of your yard was placed. So there's a dispute about property line. We gave you 2 months to try to resolve the issue. Can you bring us up to date?
Basically, right now, we're still waiting on the insurance company. It's a New Jersey-based insurance company.
Okay.
And they're really backlogged because of Superstorm Sandy.
Oh, sure.
And so,
Okay.
So what I did send an email in on April 30th requesting a deferment to the June meeting.
Right, but because we had told your neighbor that we were adjourning to tonight, we did have to reopen it.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's
So-
why I think we're all here.
Okay, so, but the question really at this point is, do you expect that June is going to be the appropriate time?
As far as I can tell right now. I mean, we can defer it to July if that's better. That way it gives us a little more time, but...
I hate to have you have to come back again for us to not be able to do anything because you're still waiting. On the other hand, I don't want to defer it to a date uncertain. That just doesn't make any sense.
No, we have to adjourn to a date certain, so the public can follow it.
So are you comfortable with June, or would you?
I am, but the insurance company is the bottleneck right now.
Okay.
Like you say, they're backed up because of Sandy. And,
Okay.
I think it's a...
All right, let's,
How about 3 months?
well, I don't want to push them off that long. If the issue is resolved by June, it doesn't make sense to hold them off that long. That just.
I mean, the board requires we'll go to the July meeting. It would be better
Right,
to
that
give
would
us
be-
more
I'm just
time, but...
thinking maybe 2 months instead, but let's just, is there anyone here to speak for or against Mr. Meyer's appeal? You are here, okay. Was there anything you wish to offer based on what you just heard from Mr. Meyer and what's happened in the meantime? We're going to ask you to come on up to the microphone if you don't mind. Because again, if he's waiting for his title company to resolve it, then,
Well, I don't know what to say. I've been in contact with my title insurance company, and I know how we are to proceed. And
You are Mr. Davy?
I'm Mr. Davy. I'll sign in a second. I just thought I would mention this. I was before the zoning board, I don't know, a couple of years ago, when this all began. And a shed was going up, and at that time, the title company, they were doing their investigation. They put a lot of resources into this. They brought in 6 surveyors to confirm our lines, because this has been an ongoing thing from the time that the day that the planning board listened to this. And there were inconsistencies right from the very beginning which were pointed out.
okay.
And, for example, when it was brought before the planning board, when the other party brought it before the planning board, they designated our property as the builder's property. It was put on there the land of Frank Hughes. Frank Hughes is the one that 36 years ago developed the property, the 4 lots that I own. He pounded in he actually, the surveyor put in the survey stakes, and at that time, it was a farming community.
Okay.
And so Frank Hughes went around pounding in
Okay.
the large stakes so that but what I'm saying is that this is an issue that goes way back.
I understand, it goes way back, so that's why I'm asking at this point, is there
And-
anything new you wish to offer to this? Otherwise, we're gonna wait for the title companies to resolve this. This board's not gonna take any action on this appeal until we're comfortable that the property line dispute is resolved.
Until the property line dispute.
That's,
Oh.
it's either that or is Mr. Myers
Okay.
gonna have to move a shed? Because
Well, if
we're
I-
not gonna take a chance of putting a shed on what might be your property.
Well, I can, just to protect you, I talked to the lawyers today, and they consider that to be trespassing. So that's their position as far as him putting a
Okay,
shed
do
on
you
our
have something
property.
in writing from them related to that?
no.
Because, again, that would help document our file as well.
Well, I spoke with him, and they wanted me to report back the findings or whatever transpired at this meeting. I can tell you, at the 2 months ago, when this meeting took place, and once again, the reason I came here is because I felt that just as the deception began a number of years ago, it continues to this day. And even when Mr. Myers, and he's kind of caught in the middle. I understand that he bought a piece of property where they told him, I don't even know if they told him where the property line was. I know that the deception began back then because the developers were telling people, because we had little flags in, surveyor flags, they were telling people that was a gas line. That's how they sold the property. They sold these off knowing that there was a problem, and I don't know, I have no way of knowing exactly what they told the buyers.
And honestly, at this point, that's not relevant.
I know
think
it's not
We've heard enough of
relevant.
that,
But I'm
so-
just trying to give you an idea of, I feel like I'm constantly brought back into this room to deal with this particular problem. When we did our homework, we had the survey done, and so on and so forth.
Mr.
And-
Davy, obviously, we've talked about title companies tonight and attorneys. We don't go into intimate conversations you've had, but have you had any further discussions about doing a boundary line agreement to once and for all resolve the issue?
Okay, see, this goes back. We tried to do that
But
with the.
recently,
Recently.
Not recently. I tried to do that with the developer. And I spent a lot of money, setting up proposal for conservation easement, because I just wanted to save the trees.
Right.
They were cutting down trees left and right, 30, 40, 50-year-old trees. And in fact, they cut some down on Mr. Myers' property.
But sometimes,
But
when you get the title companies involved, they talk to each other. And
But
they-
here's what happened. The title companies did get together. I mean, not the title companies, the surveyors, they tried to work
Right.
out something out.
Very
But
clear.
we tried to do a conservation easement, and the developer pulled our stakes out the day before we were having the field meeting. So this has been a contentious type of situation for the past 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And this board was aware of it. I don't know, I don't think you were on, I think at that time you were
I
on
was
the
on the
planning
planning
board.
board.
Yeah, but the town lawyer here was well aware of it. And
I recall the dispute,
Yes.
but one of the ways is that people can go into a room and try to resolve their disputes. Everyone gives up a little something, and there's a compromise, and a boundary line is struck. So I just didn't know to what extent you've had or hadn't had those discussions,
With the neighbor?
Yeah,
or their attorneys or the title companies.
No,
okay.
it's kind of that train has left the
I
station.
know, but lots of times title companies can remove the emotion from the situation.
I understand that, but it's really more involved than just sitting down and coming up with a compromise. We try, in good faith, we tried to do something like that for the past 3 or 4 years, and we didn't know we were being strung along by the developer, and that's really what happened. We did everything in good faith.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
All
you.
right? Thank you.
I was wondering, have your attorneys, I mean, do your attorneys have a game plan on how to address this particular issue? Or is it just, they have the title company work it out?
It's kind of like,
At this point, I'm not sure it's his issue to address. I think Mr. Myers has to resolve this
I
issue,
see.
okay?
Because, I mean, again-
The appeal is from Mr. Myers. Let's let him
Okay.
deal with whatever parties.
I mean, I can tell
feels
you
he
right
needs to
now,
address with.
he would have no problem. I know that Mr. Myers talked about the pipes in the back, the septic fields. Well, right before they put those pipes in, the Board of Health was notified that they had the layout 5 feet from our property line. And the developer came in and it was like a diamond shape coming out of the house. What they did was they turned the whole leach field parallel to the house so that it would be, I think the code was 20 feet from the property line. So along the whole fence back there, there's no piping. So in other words, Mr. Myers has plenty of room to put the shed anywhere back there within that 20 feet of our fence.
That's not correct.
Well,
All right, okay,
that's
folks.
what happened. I have
Mr.
pictures.
Davies, you're addressing your comments to
Okay,
us.
thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Meyer, I think based on the discussion, I think we're going to recommend we adjourn till July.
Yes.
All right, let's just not continue this unless we have to. And again, if it gets, if you could before the next meeting, before July, if it's still not resolved, if you can send a note in, at least we can, give us a realistic understanding of when this is going to get resolved.
I'll go off the third of July meeting.
What do we say, like the 24th or 25th of June?
By the 20th, you give us a status report.
Uh,
How many weeks do you need?
Well, that's what we're saying. If we get something by June 24th or 25th, that, I don't know what day of the week either one of those days is, okay? But that's usually around the time period that we ask for material. That's probably 2 weeks, yeah. Might be 3,
No,
but
it's
no,
a
it's
little
probably
more
3. I don't know when our meeting is in July.
It's like
Why don't we
6
give- why don't we give them a date to give us a status
June,
report?
before July?
20th
Oh,
of
no, before the July meeting.
Yeah,
No,
I don't know.
sorry. I thought
20th
you meant
of
from
June or
now.
something like that. Because
June
we- July-
24th or 25th?
For a status
Let's-
report.
Let's
If we
leave
have
that.
to-
Any change, any status update, we will come in and
Yeah,
drop something.
That
off
would be
or
great.
Send an email. We will keep you apprised.
thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn until the July meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All right, item number 2, public hearing, Appeal 3617 Dalton. Steve Dalton, 89 Lake Walton Road, Wappingers Falls, is requesting a 21-foot sideline variance for an existing 96-square-foot shed, as well as a variance to allow the shed to remain in front of the rear line of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-107B2.
Motion to open the public hearing?
I'm not seeing Mr. Dalton here.
Yeah, but again, there's somebody from the public.
Yeah,
But he's not
second
here.
call
He's
is
got
second
it.
call.
So I think we have to
Okay, so for a second.
recommend this for a second call. Sorry, Mr. Dalton's not here, so if there's anyone here, we'll get to this after we finish the other public hearings, just in case anyone is here for this. All right, so let's go on to item number 3, Appeal 3622, Procopio. Peter Procopio, 25 Ninham Avenue, Wappingers Falls, is requesting a 1-foot sideline variance for a proposed addition, a 3-foot rear line variance for a proposed addition and a deck, and a 2-foot front line variance for a proposed porch, and a 45-foot rear line variance for a proposed shed. pursuant to the set schedule of bulk regulations and sections 194-95 and 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Good
Motion
evening.
to open the public hearing?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right. Mr. Procopo, if you don't mind, if you could just run through, for the benefit of your neighbors, your application for us again?
Yes, so we are doing an addition to our existing house for the purpose of the variance. We're adding a front porch to the house, and we're seeking a two-foot variance for that porch in the front. We are adding a window to the side of the house in the kitchen. It does not have any footings or anything to support it. It's just a window that sticks out approximately 1.5 feet. So we're seeking a variance for that window of approximately 1 foot. And then in the back of the house, we are expanding the kitchen and adding a deck. And we're seeking a 3-foot variance for that addition.
Okay.
There is an existing pool we're taking down, and there is a shed that technically on the front of the house, on the
Right.
side, if you're looking at the property, and we've agreed to move it to the back of the house.
Good, okay. Yes, you are on a corner lot, which is
Yep.
why it ends up that you end up having 2 front yards. At our discussion last month, we did talk about the pool, and
Yep.
your wife did agree that it could come down. And again, we noticed that the shed was also and so, we talked about the appropriate place where we could work within the limitations that you have in your backyard in terms of being able to place it there. Can I just ask the question, at the last, we did have a notice about the building permit for the pool, is that all?
Well, we're
Is the
going to take the
all
pool
taken
down.
care of? The pool's coming down, so that doesn't matter. And then the shed had a permit that expired without a certificate of compliance,
Right. So we're going to move the shed.
okay? But it
But
is
still-
larger than 10 foot by 10 foot. So
Yes.
So when you move it, then you'll apply at that point
Yes.
to get it resolved? And Ken, I know you're in the back there. Can we actually ask you, Ken, to come over to the table if you don't mind? Sorry, our building inspector. And so if he can wait until he moves the shed to its new location based on our discussion tonight, and then get their certificate of compliance for it? Yes. Okay, good. Just making sure. All right, any questions or comments from board members?
Do we have anything showing the proposed location in the shed? I know we talked about.
Right, we did talk about where it was going to be.
Yeah. There's something we're
Did-
trying to look at.
Was there actually any amendment to your application, actually drawing in the pool, drawing in the shed?
We
No.
were not asked to draw anything on the,
That's a very good point, Barbara, because we want to make sure we're all clear on where you're putting it.
The ultimate destination.
We did talk about it last month, and, okay. Well, except I think part of our discussion was that we were gonna give him some leeway in terms of specifically where along that back line it was gonna go.
it was going
Right,
to
it
be, I
was-
believe, directly behind the house.
Right,
And I believe it was either 6 or 8 feet off the property line, is that what it was?
well, we're telling you that it has to be just at least 5 feet
least
off.
5.
Oh, 5 feet, okay.
Yeah.
Right, at least 5 feet off, but again, because until you actually got it moved to make sure where the best location of it was gonna be, we didn't lock into a specific site last time around on purpose.
You have a picket fence? Were you
In,
gonna put it
I'm sorry.
behind it, or?
So we
The fence
had,
came down, didn't it?
Right, we did
Right, and we
remove the
talked about
fence.
putting the rear line of the shed where that fence line was. That was what our discussion was. Okay, and it wasn't gonna be any closer to the rear line than that fence line. Okay. I think it's gonna be helpful if, after you actually do have it moved, that you please come in and amend show us on your application exactly where it ends up being.
so do you want that before I move the shed or after I move the shed?
Let's have you move it. All right, we're giving you permission to move it within, if it gets approved, we're giving you permission to move it within the 5 feet of your backyard or anywhere closer to your house. when you actually do move it, I think that's when you'll actually have to mark the diagram so that it's all clear where it should go.
Okay.
Are we in agreement with that?
When do you plan to move the shed, and when do you plan to remove the above-ground pool?
So the pool, I can remove it within 30 days. And the shed, if I could have until the end of August, just because of the work that's being done to the house, that'd be good.
Want to have till August 31?
Yes.
Does that work for
Yeah,
you?
that's fine.
Any other questions from board members? Okay, is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal by Peter Procopio, 25 Ninham Avenue, Wappingers Falls, requesting a 1-foot sideline variance for a proposed addition, a 3-foot rear line variance for a proposed addition and deck, 2-foot front line variance for proposed porch, and a 45-foot rear line variance for a proposed shed? Again, the shed that's being relocated from his front yard that's on the side of his house. Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Uh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and,
This is appeal number 3622, applicant is Peter Procopio, requesting a 1-foot sideline variance for a proposed addition, a 3-foot rear line variance for a proposed addition and a deck, and a 2 feet front line variance for a proposed porch, and a 25-feet rear line variance for a proposed shed. And the location is 25 Needham Avenue, Wappinger Falls. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a 1-foot sideline variance for a proposed shed and a 3-foot rear line variance for a proposed addition and a deck, and a 2-foot front line variance for a proposed porch, and a 45-foot rear line variance for a proposed shed. Whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on May 1st, 2013, and whereas the zoning board of appeals held a public hearing on May 14, 2013, and whereas the zoning board of appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, the desired result cannot be achieved by some other means, as this is a corner lot and requires a 3-50-foot setbacks, and applicants are upgrading their home by putting an addition on to better enjoy it. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect on the impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirements of the law was not created by something the applicant did or proposed to do. And I would like to add one item, that the above-ground pool will be removed, and the
will be removed by,
will be removed within the next 30 days, or
by June 30th.
by June 30th. Excuse me,
Okay,
by June 30th, and the 10 feet by 12 foot shed,
10 foot by 14.
or the 10 by 14, okay. 10 by 14 shed that's in the front of the house is going to be moved back, but will not be any closer than, or will be at least 5 feet away from the edge of the boundary line.
And the applicant will come in after it's been relocated to cite the specific location on his application.
Fine.
And this will be done by August 31st?
Yes, and this is,
And then
thank
done.
you.
By August 31.
Or we're gonna do it September?
No, let's do
Okay,
this by
August.
August 31st.
By August 30th.
And applicant will amend application, okay.
Now therefore,
Hold on one second, and after the shed has been moved, the applicant is going to ensure he has a certificate of compliance with the building department.
I do have a question. If,
Yeah.
for some reason, the shed, when I try to move it, I'm not able to move it, and I decide I need to get a new shed, is there a different process for that?
No.
As long as it's,
Their variance will approve you now and forever having that shed within 5 feet of the rear of your property.
That
This
size.
size, exactly, thank you.
So it can't go larger?
Can't go larger without coming back,
Okay.
yeah,
or visiting the building department and them making that determination.
correct. So as long as it's 10 by 14 or smaller, you're okay. If it goes 10 by 14 or bigger, I mean, anything bigger than 10 by 14, then you have to start the process again.
Okay,
Any other
anything
addition?
else?
No.
Okay, hold on just one second, I'm just writing all the notes. Okay,
Okay. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by Peter Procopio, 25 Needham Avenue, Popinja Falls, who's requesting a 1-foot sideline variance for a proposed shed, a proposed addition, a 3-foot rear line variance for a proposed addition and a deck, and a 2-foot front line variance for a proposed porch, and a 45-foot rear line variance for a proposed shed pursuant to the bulk, schedule of bulk regulation in section 194-95 and 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner. Resolution seconded by a zoning
is there a
board member.
second?
Second.
Thank you. Votes as follows, Aziz,
Aye.
Tara,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and myself, aye, so your motion carries.
Okay.
Okay?
And then, do I need to file any paperwork now, or?
At this point, Pam, do we have them call you tomorrow?
Sure.
All right, why don't you call the planning board office tomorrow?
Planning board, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Pass that down to Pam, so she's got all her notes. All right, item number 4, Appeal 3623 Ross. Michael Ross, 604 Route 376, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a variance to allow an above-ground pool which was installed without a permit to remain in front of the rear line of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-95 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, when last we talked about this, there were a couple other issues at this property location, but I understand they've all been resolved. This is just for the reminder of the board, this is the property that has an extremely long driveway, that only the curb cut of his driveway is visible on Route 376. You can see part of his driveway if you're driving on Purse Lane, but you cannot see this pool. There's just, I've driven up there a couple times and just cannot see the pool at all. So it is not an imposition on neighbors, unless anybody wants to bring that to our attention tonight.
It's actually 1,000 feet off the road.
Okay.
From
that's-
376,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's quite the distance in.
My
so-
driveway is actually a quarter of a mile, 1,100 feet.
Okay. All right, so any questions from board members? If not, is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal from Mr. Ross, 604 Route 376, Hopewell Junction, to allow him the variance to keep his above-ground pool? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Sarah, you want to offer?
Appeal number 3623, applicant is Michael Ross. Variance to allow above-ground pool to remain in front of the dwelling at 604 Route 376 in Hopewell. Zoning District R1 resolution offered by Tara Franco. Whereas the applicant has applied for the zoning board for a variance to allow his above-ground pool to remain in the front of his dwelling. Whereas this action is a type 2 secret action and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on May 1st, 2013. Whereas the zoning board held a public hearing on May 14th, and whereas the zoning board of appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community as it cannot be seen from a road. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means as the applicant has a long, narrow lot on a hill and his septic fields are located to the rear of the dwelling. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirements of the law was not created by something the applicant did or
I think we gotta
proposes to
strike
do.
that one. I think he put the pool up, so I
Okay.
think we have to strike that one.
But it doesn't control the day, though.
Right,
It
exactly,
doesn't-
so,
Now therefore be it resolved, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by Michael Ross of 604 Route 376 Hopewell Junction for an above-ground pool to remain in the front of the dwelling pursuant to section 194-95 of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of this resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant.
is there a second?
Second.
Let's give that one to Barbara. Votes as follows: Aziz,
Aye.
Tara,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and myself, aye. So your motion carries. All right, you're all set.
Okay. Do I just stop down in the planning board and see if they're
At this
Your
point,
office
you
in a
probably...
few days.
Yes, okay,
get what I need that for the building department.
correct. Okay?
Thank you.
Have a good night. Nope, that one she doesn't need. Okay, item number 5, Appeals 3624 Gaston, Allison Gaston, 305 Church Street, Wappingers Falls, is requesting an 8-foot front line variance for an existing deck and an expansion of a non-conforming structure in order to enclose the deck pursuant to section 194-121 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening.
Motion to open the public hearing?
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Keeping me honest. All right, we did review this at our last meeting. I don't believe we had any issues or concerns. I'm just pulling out your application. Yeah, and just as a review for anybody who might be here, there's a request by Ms. Gaston to be able to enclose the deck that's already there. We took a look at what the options were at this point. There's not a whole lot that could be done. Since it's already there, it's kind of a fabric of the house already. So are there any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal from Allison Gaston, 305 Church Street, Wappingers Falls, requesting an 8-foot front line variance for an existing deck and an expansion of a non-conforming structure in order to enclose the deck? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And resolution?
You want to vote?
Appeal number 3624, applicant is Allison Gaston, for an 8-foot front line variance for an existing deck and an expansion of a non-conforming structure in order to enclose the deck. Location is 305 Church Street, Wappingers Falls. The resolution is offered by Mary Seminara. Whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for an 8-foot front line variance for an existing deck and an expansion of a non-conforming structure in order to enclose the deck. Whereas this is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required. And whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on May 1st, 2013. And whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on May 14th, 2013. And whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, as most of the homes in the neighborhood are pre-existing non-conforming. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirements of the law was not created by something the applicant...
Again, let's not do that. They added the deck on, so let's take that one off.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the request made by Allison Gaston for an 8-foot front line variance for an existing deck and an expansion of a non-conforming structure in order to enclose the deck pursuant to section 194-121 of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, votes as follows. Aziz,
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara? Mary?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Your motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, number 6, Appeal 3626 Griggs. Henry J. Welch, representing Tina Marie and Rigo Griggs, 7 Fishkill Hook Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting an 8-foot front line variance for a proposed addition pursuant to Section 194-92-1 of the zoning ordinance. Is Mr. Welch here? Or the Riggs?
Second call.
Okay, seeing none. We're going pretty quickly here, so we'll give him one more opportunity here. So seeing no one here, we'll put this on for second call. All right, item number 7, Appeal 3628 Mann, Timothy and Sandra Mann, 12 on Eisenhower Court, Hopewell Junction, are requesting a variance to allow an existing 16-foot by 16-foot freestanding deck built without a building permit in front of the dwelling to remain and to be covered pursuant to the schedule of bulk regulations. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good. All right, so you had applied, because you're looking to put a cover on the deck. You put a deck up, which was fine, because it was not high enough off the ground that it required any kind of a permit. And now the issue is that because it's under the trees, you've got all sorts of bird droppings
I
and
was gonna take a picture before I came.
we've actually seen pictures, so, you know,
Like hundreds of spots all over it.
season's already started this year, so. This is a property that, again, we've reviewed this application last time around. This is not a property that you can see really from Eisenhower Court. You're back behind the utility lines. And so even though this raised patio, for lack of a better, word, is in the front of your yard and you're now looking to cover it, it hasn't been an issue because, or it's not gonna be a visible issue because your property is just so far back. Anything else you'd like to offer?
That's
No?
pretty much it.
Okay. Any questions from board members?
I just want to put it on the record that I did do a site visit, and I
Okay.
agree with the chair that the location is not visible from the road.
Good.
Did we discuss what kind of cover it was gonna be, or
It's just gonna be,
is it gonna be
Nothing
canvas,
fancy.
wood?
Is it gonna be shingles or?
it'll have shingle on it, no
Okay.
gutters, just
Shingle and a little peak?
like this shape with 4, probably 8 by 8 posts, maybe 8 foot. That's it.
Okay.
So
Is
wood
this
frame?
something he gets a permit from you to do? Okay. So you will go to do all the required permits through the building department.
Okay.
Any other questions from board members? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal from Timothy and Sandra Mann, 12 Eisenhower Court, Hopewell Junction, requesting a variance to allow an existing 16-foot by 16-foot freestanding deck in front of their dwelling to remain and to be covered? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Barb?
We'll take in turns
This is
tonight.
appeal number 3628. The applicant is Timothy and Sandra Mann. The project is a freestanding deck to remain in front of the dwelling and be covered. The location is 12 Eisenhower Court, zoning district R1. Resolution offered by zoning board member Barbara Barosa. Whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a variance to allow a 16-foot by 16-foot freestanding deck to remain in front of their dwelling and for it to be covered. Whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required. And whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on May 1st, 2013, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on May 14th, 2013, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, as the structure meets all required setbacks and cannot be seen from the road. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means, as the structure is already in place. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood, as the house is located far from the road.
That's it.
That's it.
Let's take that last one.
Okay. Now therefore be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the request made by Timothy and Sandra Mann, 12 Eisenhower Court, Hopewell Junction, for a variance to allow a 16-foot by 16-foot freestanding deck to remain in front of their dwelling and to be covered, do we want to say what covered with?
With asphalt, with a roof with asphalt shingles.
With the roof of asphalt shingles of the zoning.
Apparently it's wood frame and shingles.
Wood frame, thank you.
Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board should cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and votes as follows. Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So your motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Um,
Take that yellow line down there.
Yes, you can take your sign down, yes. I do want to give you credit, for your creativity on that one line, though. Actually, pass that to Pam, since we made a change to that one. I do notice that Mr. Dalton is here, so we'll get to your public hearing in a minute. There's one last public hearing. Appeal 3629 Nolan. This is an application of the building inspector of the town of East Fishkill with respect to a 10-foot rear line variance for an existing garage on the Nolan property at 515 Old Hopewell Road, Hopewell Junction, and a 3-foot rear line variance for an existing 10-foot by 10-foot shed pursuant to section 194-107C of the zoning ordinance. As we discussed last time around, the applicant did come in to seek the appropriate guidance. There was a slight misunderstanding, I guess, about the layout of the property and, yes. We'll get to that in 1 second, thank you, because I always forget to do that. And so the building inspector did actually give permission for that to move forward. Because of the error was now noticed, it's the building inspector who's actually making the application. So do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Are there any questions of the building inspector from board members? I did notice the sign was up. Is there anyone here to speak for or against the application for the Nolan property, a 10-foot rear line variance for an existing garage at 515 Old Hopewell Road, and a 3-foot rear line variance for an existing 10-foot by 10-foot shed? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And resolution?
Okay, appeal number 3629, Ken Byer is the applicant for East Fishkill Building Inspector for the Nolan property. It's a 10-foot rear line variance for a garage and a 3-foot rear line variance for a shed, and the location is 515 Old Hopewell Road. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a 10-foot rear line variance for an existing garage and a 3-foot rear line variance for an existing shed, whereas this action is a type 2 action of the seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Duchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on May 1st, 2013, and whereas the zoning board of appeals held a public hearing on May 14, 2013, and whereas the zoning board of appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means, and the structures are already in place. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, as the house is located far from the road.
Just take off the last,
Yeah, okay.
you do the last line, because
Okay.
it's nothing he did, so.
The difficulty in adhering to the area variance of the law was not created by something the owner did.
Thank you.
Now therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by the East Fishkill Building Inspector for a 10-foot rear line variance for an existing garage and a 3-foot rear line variance for an existing shed on the Nolan property, 515 Old Hopewell Road, Hopewell Junction, pursuant to section 194-107C of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, votes as follows. Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Ken, your motion carries. All right, we're gonna go back to the second calls, because at least one of the applicants is now here. And again, I know after all your experience the last couple months with all the cell tower and how long you got delayed, I'm not surprised that you thought you had a little bit more time tonight.
I think both are here, too.
Oh, okay, all right, so item number 2 is Appeal 3617 Dalton. Steve Dalton, 89 Lake Walton Road, Wappingers Falls, is requesting a 21-foot sideline variance for an existing 96-square-foot shed, as well as a variance to allow the shed to remain in front of, no, we're not doing that anymore. That's it, it's just a 21-foot sideline variance. All right, because we did agree with Mr. Dalton, we are moving it behind the rear line of his house pursuant to section 194-107B2. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Dalton was here requesting, he does have a shed on his property that is being used as a playhouse for his son. He wants to be able to have the child visible to him when he's doing things in his garage and on his driveway, et cetera. I did do a site visit with him. We did agree that, I think we got you to understand why it should be behind the rear line of your house. Based on the drainage issue, he does not have a flat driveway, flat property behind him because of some drainage issues in that area.
I collect water.
It collects water, and it clearly creates a little bit of a, it doesn't grow grass in that area, just the water clearly collects there. And between the septic and other issues in his backyard, we did arrive at what could be an acceptable location for him. Again, behind the rear line of his house, but it's now 4 feet off the property line instead of on the property line as it is right now. And you did also agree that you would paint that front, so where there's very bright white
all
trim
gonna get
to it.
painted.
You know, we did agree that you would actually paint that as well to make it more blend with your house. Questions or comments from board members?
And the dog's staying?
The dog can stay on top.
I thought we had that cleared up.
We did, yes. All right, so is there anyone here to speak for or against the request by Mr. Dalton for a 21-foot sideline variance for an existing 96-square-foot shed? Come on up, Mr. Dalton, we'll ask you to take a seat.
Okay.
And I apologize, we couldn't get to you earlier, but go ahead.
Yes, my name is Anthony Santiago. I live in back of the property.
Okay,
I was here because of the
the notice that you got?
notification. I don't know the details of what is going on. Now you're saying that the entrance of the been changed or something like that?
Mr. Dalton has a shed at the top of his driveway, and we're asking him to actually move it back and over a little bit, all right, so that it's behind the rear line of his house. Right now, it's in front of that rear line of his house, all right? It's off to the side of his driveway on Lake Walton Road. Do you live on Lake Walton Road, or you're saying you're
No,
behind him?
I live in Radcliffe.
Okay, all right. So if you drive on Lake Walton Road, his property, it's quite noticeable just because he has a shed with a dog sitting on top of it.
Okay.
All right, and so we've asked him to move that property back, because that is, where it is currently in violation. So we've worked with him to identify a good location based on the contours of his property.
So it's nothing to do with the shed that's in the back? Or-
No. No, it's the shed that's in the front will be moved back a little bit,
Right.
that's all.
Nothing to do with that, okay. So
Nope.
I have no objection.
No objection? Thank you very much.
Excuse me, can you
Yes,
just sign it?
yes, please, if you don't, could we just ask you to sign in? Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appeal number 3617, applicant Steve Dalton, requesting a 21-foot sideline variance for an existing 96-square-foot shed at 89 Lake Walton Road, Hopewell Junction. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a 21-foot sideline variance for an existing 96-square-foot shed, whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on May 1st, 2013, and whereas the zoning board of appeals held a public hearing on May 14, 2013, and whereas the zoning board of appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means as the lot has drainage issues, and to move the shed to an area which would not require a variance would be difficult. The variance required is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Let's change it to this.
Okay. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirement of the law is
Caused
caused
by
by having drainage issues,
the land having drainage.
by the land having drainage issues, and the applicant's son uses the shed as a playhouse, and this location is adjacent to the applicant's garage, so he can watch him as well.
Okay.
Now therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by Steve Dalton, 89 Lake Walton Road, Hopewell Junction, who's requesting a 21-foot sideline variance for a 96 square foot shed pursuant to section 194-107C of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Okay, we're gonna make one change, because we talked about painting the shed. So the trim on the shed,
Be a condition.
right, will be painted,
We paint the white trim.
right, that's what the white trim on the, okay, because I'm not saying you have to paint the whole shed.
Let's all get painted.
Okay, well, that's your, we're just looking to reduce the shock of the white, okay? The white trim on the shed will be painted to a color that matches your house. Okay?
Okay.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So is there a second?
Second.
And votes as follows: Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara? Mary?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So your motion carries. Ken, do you advise the court, or does Mr. Dalton have to appear in court with his variance?
I'll, pass that to Mary.
Okay, so you'll get communication, because I know you,
I got 2 letters, I got 2 letters.
I know you were confused about the letters. That's why I
Yeah.
want to be sure we give you clear direction what you have to do.
I'm probably gonna go and try to clear it up anyway, I was gonna come, because I got 2 different dates, and I don't know which
Right.
one's which.
Nope, I understand. Somebody from the building department will call you to resolve what you need to do.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. All right, we will also have a second call on appeal, item number 6, Appeal 3626 Griggs, Henry Welch, representing Tina Marie and Rigo Griggs, 7 Fishkill Hook Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting an 8-foot front line variance for a proposed addition pursuant to section 194-92-1 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening again.
Good evening, how are you?
Good. We mentioned that because of the cell tower,
Oh, yeah,
you
no,
were so used to being later.
I came in early to find out.
Yeah, no
They said
problem.
7:38, quarter to 8 would be all right, but I guess you're
All right,
moving
so
quite along.
this is an application, you're here representing the Greggs, who are
Correct.
looking to do an addition on their home because they have
Right.
elderly
Yep.
parents who,
I'm moving from
need-
California, yes.
Need some attention, need more full-time attention, need to move in.
Right.
It's a very weird-shaped lot, it's a flag lot to begin with.
Extremely weird, yeah.
It's, the back of the house is very close to the rear line of the yard, of the property,
mhm.
so there's no room to move it that way. There is an addition, small addition going on the side of the house, but then there's also a little bit of an addition that's now gonna be bumping into the front yard setback. But there really were no other options. Remember that when this board did look at this, we did grant permission at the family's risk for them to actually start work, because of the
Yes.
nature of the, imminent nature of those family members needing to move in. So are there any questions from?
Motion to open a public
Oh,
hearing.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
For the record, I did go and visit I did a site visit at this location, And as the chair mentioned, those are the issues that I also observed.
And this is not visible from
Correct.
Fishkill Hill Road, so I
Correct,
think,
correct.
just to be clear on that, I don't think I mentioned that.
No, it's not, it's way off the road. I
Right,
mean,
this
it's
is a long driveway.
way long driveway.
Right, so, any other questions from board members? If not, is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal by Tina Marie and Rigo Griggs, 7 Fishkill Hook Road, requesting an 8-foot front line variance? We're gonna ask you, Mr. Welch,
Oh,
to step
okay.
aside.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ann Bell. I live at 14 Fishkill Hook Road. I did receive a letter in the mail, and I just came to say I have no problem with it and to support my neighbor.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the resolution?
You wanna go? Okay.
This is appeal number 3626, applicant Tina Marie and Rigo Griggs. Is that actually the applicant though? I thought it was.
They're the actual, Henry is representing them, but they're the actual applicant.
Okay. The project is an 8-foot front line variance for a proposed addition located at 7 Fishkill Hook Road. Resolution offered by zoning board member Barbara Barosa. Whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for an 8-foot front line variance for a proposed addition. Whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required. And whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on May 1st, 2013. And whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals had a public hearing on May 14th, 2013. And whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, as this is a flag lot and cannot be seen from the road. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means, as the applicant is putting an addition on the house, and this fits the flow of the existing house. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, as most of the homes in the neighborhood are older and non-conforming.
Yeah, last doesn't apply, go ahead.
Do we want to add something about that it's set back off the road?
It's not.
So already says flag lot on the.
The difficulty in.
No, that's, you-
Don't add that one.
No, just
No,
go
no.
right now, therefore.
next.
Thank you.
Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by Tina Marie and Rigo Griggs, 7 Fishkill Hook Road, Hopewell Junction, for an 8-foot front line variance for a proposed addition pursuant to section 194-92-1 of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Is there a second?
Second.
And votes as follows: Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So your motion carries. Okay? Have a good night. All right, that's it for our public hearings. At this point, we're now on to reviews. Our first review, item number 9, Appeal 3620, Minkowitz, Frank Minkowitz, 64 Gold Road, Stormville, New York, is requesting a 24-foot front line variance and a 450-square-foot variance for a proposed 1,200-square-foot detached garage pursuant to section 194-107C of the zoning ordinance. Now, my understanding is, did he actually get a permit?
We actually submitted an application for 8 size.
Okay, so he's, based on that, this request is being withdrawn because we convinced him to do something that no longer needs a variance. Okay, so with that, right, so do I have a motion to grant a refund of 45?
Correct.
Thank you. Is that a motion?
Yeah, so moved. All
All right, because we're not going through with the public hearing on this, so we'll
Okay.
give him a refund of all but $5.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, for refund. All right. Item number 10, Appeal 3625 Kenna. Joseph Kenna, 538 Hosner Mountain Road, Stormville, is requesting a 5-foot rear line variance for a proposed 22-foot by 34-foot garage pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, 22-foot by 34 feet.
Mr. McKenna, there is a letter that was sent by the building department by Ken Byer. Did you receive that letter? Copy of the letter?
Recent? I met with Ken.
It was sent on May 2nd, 2013.
I don't believe I received it, but what does it say?
In reviewing your file to issue a certificate of compliance for a 20-foot by 40-foot in-ground pool and area
Oh,
review.
yes, I'm sorry, I did receive that.
Okay,
Okay. So I have Beatty and Watson working on that drawing.
Okay.
okay. All right, the issue we have here, there's actually a couple issues. And you now created a driveway off of Leetown Road?
Yes,
Okay, so now there's no driveway in the front of your house? And
that's
so
true,
for-
but we've also talked about possibly doing a driveway, going over a couple of scenarios with Mr. Breyer.
Okay, good.
And, you know, so we're thinking about cutting a little driveway in the front. Figure out
Okay.
what we want to do there with that.
Okay, the issue is, board members, if you look at his, wow, there's a lot going on that survey. His original access or driveway is now, there's actually now a stone wall there, right off of Hosner Mountain Road, so that access doesn't exist. But the dilemma is that for 911 purposes,
Right.
he has to have a driveway off of Hosner Mountain Road, otherwise his whole address has to change. But the property does face Hosner Mountain Road. So, working with Mr. Bryant, the town engineer, I gather you've been working through some scenarios. My understanding is there's gotta be a driveway that fits, that at least has parking for 2 cars within that front area of your
Right.
yard, okay? So as long as you're aware of that, at some point, we're gonna need you to draw in on your application exactly where you're proposing that that's going to go.
Okay.
All right. The other thing is you have a boxing ring in your yard?
It's movable.
It's movable? Like movable off your yard or out of, or just, is it okay if it goes to the backyard, Ken, or is it?
It's really not
Yeah?
a necessity,
Okay.
it's just a little hobby I have. But I have a few things in that area where I'm putting that garage, there's a trailer there. There's
Okay.
like an attached shed there, there's a bunch of stuff that'll disappear with this garage.
Okay. So, but this boxing ring is not gonna be visible in the front of your house?
I don't believe it is visible from any, you know, I don't believe when it's grown in, you can see that thing anywhere. But,
Okay. I haven't been, I'll be honest, I haven't been there, so I haven't seen it, but it was brought
Okay.
to my attention that it needs to get addressed.
yeah,
Okay?
well, I'm gonna take it out anyway when I do all of this, so.
That's all we need to hear. All right, so your options are is that you're looking to put a garage all the way in the back of your property. I guess we need to understand, well, the garage, yeah, it is a proposed garage. How big is the footprint of your house? Well, it's actually, never mind, it's 748 square feet, so it's less than the
Right.
750. But is there some reason why it can't be moved forward? I mean, can you place it actually on the driveway so that it's not at the
That's-
rear
I mean,
line there?
if you go and take a peek at the situation, where I would put it would be perfect in my driveway sense, because then I would be able to come down the driveway and turn into the garage and have enough room to do so, where the driveway is situated now.
All right, okay, I see. So I guess that garage is going to be visible from Leetown Road?
Yes.
And what's behind you? the 5 feet to your property line in the back of your house, what's after that? What's on your neighbor's property at that point?
There's a lot,
Is it-
there's nothing on it.
Is it clear, is it his driveway over there, back there?
It's an empty lot. No, it's a clear lot.
It's a cleared lot. Okay, so this is you here, okay, I got it. This is your lot. Okay.
So basically, you have an entrance from Leetown for your purposes, but you need to have an entrance from Hosner Mountain.
Right,
Right.
we talked about changing the address, which is a possibility as well, but keeping it in the front would keep all the setbacks
Right.
right, which I would rather keep it in the front. That's our
Okay.
address, been our address for 20 years,
Yep.
just about. And so, you know, my
Correct.
thing is I would cut in like a little driveway, so you have 2 cars fitting there or whatever,
Correct.
you know, through that wall.
Correct, because if
Yeah,
you.
like a little boxing.
Correct, because if you come from Leetown Road, then your garage is gonna be in the front of the house.
Exactly. It starts
that
to
is
change the
the-
dynamics of the setbacks and all of that stuff. So
Correct, and,
How big is your deck that's back there?
It's big.
I'm gonna ask you to come up here for a second, because I just wanna make sure it's not encroaching on the property.
Well, that's something
Behind it.
with the new survey drawings, but they.
Oh, okay, all right.
So that's why I had buyers. gonna
So
do
you
it.
are having a new survey drawn?
Yeah, we have to have it drawn. because,
Good,
you know, to
that's-
get all of this stuff fine tuned.
Yeah, because if you look at this is what we're looking at, and it's trying to figure out what's
No, I
going on in
understand.
here. All right,
The
so.
thing is, with this garage, you know, I approached it once before, and then I kind of backed off, and it's
Right.
been nice that I'd like to at least start the motion of maybe sending notifications out so we can
When's the survey
get
gonna
that
be?
in motion.
When's the survey
I should
gonna
have
be?
it in the next week or so. It
Really?
just came out
I
last
guess
week.
my concern is, I don't want to schedule for a public hearing if there might be something else that needs to be addressed. All right, I'm concerned that your deck, if I'm seeing this right, is this part of your deck?
Yeah, yes. I
So
would
your
think so.
deck might be really
So if
awfully
that-
close to the property line, which doesn't mean we can't deal with it, but when we're doing the public hearing, let's deal with everything all at one time. All right, that's all I'm suggesting.
Well, it would encroach onto this guy's property. then.
Well, if it encroaches, we have to make you take it down. You can't have any structures encroaching on somebody else's property. We can't allow that, okay? If it's to the point where it ends at your property line, you don't meet the rear yard setback. You're supposed to be in from the rear line. You're not supposed to build right to your property line. And so if we have to address that, we'll do it all in the same public hearing as we would for the garage. So what we'd really like to see your survey before we commit to doing your hearing, just to make sure if we're doing it, we could be doing one public hearing for one thing, and then you'd have to do a new application if we have to deal with the deck. I don't want to make you pay for that and have to go through that nonsense.
There's no closing going on here or anything like that, is there?
Right, is there any
There's no
urgency
time
that,
restraint.
No.
that we see you
It's
back
not
for
me,
another
I don't wanna
review?
Get the thing in motion because I don't want to.
I know, but you're not refinancing, you're not selling where you have a time period of,
No.
okay.
Okay, so then if you agree, let's get the survey first, we'll have you come back in June, let's just make sure the property is as it should be, and then we'll schedule you for a public hearing in July.
we
Board
go
members,
study
we
the
agree with
survey.
that?
correct.
All right, let's get the survey and just make sure anything that's going on here is all as it should be.
Now, if it was over the line, what would I have to do about that?
You'd have to remove it, or you'd have to do a lot line realignment with your neighbor.
What, a deck,
Yeah.
or you do a license agreement?
Easement, and you do like an easement?
Yeah, that's a
Something
license
like
agreement, so
that.
you can stay for a certain period of time.
Yeah, but that would delay the whole process
Right,
further.
that's not a
No,
quick
but
fix.
he's
Right,
asking
but,
his option.
I mean, if that was the case, I could just separate them, right? That would be one.
No,
problem.
because we can't issue one if there's a violation on the property.
I think you ought to get the survey to us, then
Oh,
we
okay.
can discuss it.
All right, that's why we're saying let's make sure everything is as it should be,
Okay,
okay?
fair enough.
So you'll get the survey sometime in the next,
I should have it next week, I would say.
okay, good.
I
As
was
soon
hoping to
as,
have it for today, but it didn't happen.
okay,
It's
so
a busy
it's,
office.
What's that?
It's a busy office that you're doing.
he's gonna get the survey to you, Pam?
You should.
Okay,
How
and
many
then
prints do you want?
you'll make sure Ken or Mary gets to see it, just so that we can, or Scott, maybe even. Let's just take a look and just see if we've got any other issues, okay?
And Pam would like 5 prints, if he brings the survey, 5 prints.
I have spec copies of them, five copies.
You know how many copies of the survey? Beatty wants to do.
But there's a deck that goes even closer.
They'll run off prints.
That's why, let's get the survey and we'll figure that out. Okay? We'll see you next month. Thank you. I'd rather get it right. Okay?
So this is
We're trying to help you out
Yeah, I
here.
know, I appreciate that.
All right, item number
Okay,
11.
Before we go,
Sorry.
and again, you did receive the letter from the building department, so that survey is going to reflect what's been.
did receive that letter, and that's why I went to the town.
Okay,
So we're adjourning from review to review.
Yes.
okay.
All right?
More review. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 11, Appeal 3627 Conradi, David Conradi, 55 Clove Branch Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 25-foot rear line variance for a proposed 26-foot by 26-foot shed, a 10-foot rear line variance for an existing house, an 18-foot rear line variance for the existing gazebo, a 16-foot front line variance for an existing awning, and a 7-foot front line variance for an existing 10-foot by 10-foot shed pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. And we should say that you can't see any of this from the road.
It's hard to, yeah.
No, I mean, you know, I drive by that practically every day, and it's, all right, so we did review this last time around. What we were concerned about was we wanted to get better measurements, because we didn't know what this thing that was labeled awning was, and, you know, so in the meantime, we've gotten, right? We
The
got
survey with
additional
the-
information.
With the measurements on it, yeah.
And that one's done. And so. Hold on, Mr. Conrad, here you are. Revised application, received on April 29th. So Pam, what's now on the agenda reflects what came in here. Okay, so now we have what's a more accurate sense of what's out there. All right, are there any questions or comments from board members? No? Again, this is up on a hill, it's not, I don't know if, what's behind you, the golf club?
Many
Oh.
lots, and then eventually the golf.
Oh, is it Eagle Ridge behind you, perhaps? Yes, okay, all right. Okay, so any comments from board members, questions? Again, we did look at this last time around.
Correct. And again, the revised application that was just received in April reflects the measurements. The physical structures are still the same, but now
Correct.
we have actual measurements
Right.
to
To the
each of
property
the
lines.
corners of the property lines.
Yes.
so.
You have a lot going on that property.
Yeah.
But, okay. All right, so do I have a motion to schedule this for public hearing for June?
Motion to advertise?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so you'll see Pam, she'll give you the instructions for your sign, okay?
Thank you.
And then we'll see you next month.
Right, and just bring some pictures, because again, it's a flag lot, so it's not visible, so just
Right.
bring various locations, I mean, because you got like,
What some of these different, the features that you have, the awning, you know, that's just be able to show us, especially if any of your neighbors come and want to see what this looks like. Okay?
thank you.
And please make sure the sign is visible and legible. Thank you. You heard me last month.
I've seen some of the signs, then.
You know what I was talking about, yes.
If you could also bring in details about the shed, like the side, you know, if you have a picture.
Yeah, what kind of
or-
material you'll use.
Or just bring it to the
Just
public hearing.
Bring it for the public hearing. Your neighbors may want to hear about it. Thank you. All right, item number 12, Appeal 3630 Luciano, Stephen Luciano, 15 Prentice Drive, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 2-foot variance for a 6-foot fence to be located in front of the rear line of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-99 of the zoning ordinance.
Good evening.
Good evening. We have not reviewed your application before, so tell us what you are trying to accomplish.
Simply, originally, there was a 6-foot fence there, and that was not code compliant. And installed a 4-foot fence. When the storms blew through a couple of years, took all the trees down, took the fence down with it, put up a 6-foot fence that I had on premises, and I'm looking to get the variance to make it code compliant.
Okay.
It's off the property line. It faces the road, it faces Prentice Drive, so the good side of the fence is obviously facing anyone that drives by the house,
Okay.
and that's really it.
And so why the 6-foot fence versus the 4-foot?
Privacy.
Okay. What's behind it? Is it to the side of your house? Is it
No,
to
no,
the-
it faces, what's behind it is the backyard.
What is, I have two maps up here, it says number 15 and number 17, and I had difficulty understanding, and you are at 15 Prentice Drive?
Correct.
But the
That's the
road-
one with the semicircular drive?
Okay, so it's this one.
Okay, but that's 14 or 15, because both the numbers appear on the map.
It's-
Well, you know what it
it's-
is, these are probably the lot numbers from when the subdivision was done.
Right.
That's probably,
Okay, but this is 15, but his
Yeah,
fence,
he-
but his fence is going through the,
his French, does your fence encroach on your neighbor's property?
Nope.
You did a lot line realignment.
You did a lot line realignment, okay, thank you.
No problem.
That explains
Okay.
it.
okay.
Okay. All right, so,
Himself,
Mm-hmm.
he himself did it.
He and this
Yeah,
neighbor, yeah.
but it wasn't his
Okay.
predecessor, he did it.
so the picket fence is where the 6-foot,
No, the picket fence is actually behind the fence that's off the front of the house. Behind that is a garden. Behind that is a 4-foot picket fence, which is not even visible from the street.
so you have the fence that lines up with the front of your house.
Correct,
That's the 6-foot fence.
correct.
Behind that is a garden?
Yeah, behind that is a garden area, yes.
Okay.
And then behind that is a picket fence,
All right, where's your septic? Oh, your septic's all the way in the back.
all the way in the back.
How long has the fence been up?
Well, the fence has been up since the house was up, technically.
But how long has it been a 6-foot fence?
Again, when I bought the house in 1993,
was.
it was a 6-foot fence.
I understand,
Yeah.
but then you said it went to a 4-foot fence, and now
Right.
it's back to a 6-foot.
Yeah,
How
it's-
long?
it's probably 2 years.
What's the material?
Cedar.
And what color is it?
It is golden, painted, you know, it's
Matches
it's
your house,
natural.
or it's
Yeah,
just the natural?
It's natural.
Okay.
You're welcome to drive by.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, because I'm not,
How old is the house?
It was built in 86.
86, so it's after zoning.
and it appears that your house is 100 feet from the road.
Approximately, yeah.
So it's, so 100 feet gives you some amount of privacy, but not,
Not when you drive down
Not
the road.
well.
5 car
No.
lengths.
Again, if you drive by the, if you drove by the house 5 years ago, you could not have looked into my backyard. Now, you can't do anything but look in my backyard.
and it couldn't be achieved by putting trees there, shrubs there, something like that?
200 of them? It would take a lot of trees. And I did install some, and so did my neighbor.
Okay,
Yeah, come on up here for a second, because I'm trying to understand how,
Yeah, same
what is
here.
the fence is it just this little bit of a fence here?
which fence are you talking about?
Here's your lot, okay, your driveway. So are we talking about, where's this one? This little fence here, or are we talking?
Yeah, just that. It's just coming off the front of the house. And there's a similar side, this is the driveway coming up.
Okay.
And there's another piece of fence on this side.
Oh, okay.
So basically, there's a fence on this side here.
Yep.
And
And here.
and this is the fence we're talking about.
Yeah, it's right here. Right,
Okay.
exactly. And then the picket fence is back here.
The 4-foot.
Correct.
Okay, so here's,
I don't know, is the stockade on the other side,
Correct.
behind the driveway, that's 6 foot? or 4 foot?
yes, you're saying goes across your driveway is also 6 feet. Tara, you got that?
There's one here.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one up-
Here.
But
Right.
that's behind.
Yeah.
And it's
No, no,
located here, not here, because it's marked here, stockade.
It's located here. in the
There
front
is a
line.
line going here, though.
And
So-
why,
It's in,
But this must be the 4-foot fence again.
no, there isn't a.
There's not a 4-foot
No,
back
not-
now?
Not on, let's see,
So are they both at
No.
the front of the house?
there's no fence here.
Okay, so it's.
There's just a fence here.
Okay.
so why do you need
So
the
the peanut here.
stockade at the front
Yeah,
of the house?
yeah.
Why can't it go back?
Why do you need, let's start by asking, Barbara's asking the question, why do you need it across the front, 6 feet? And let's start by saying, why do you need part of your driveway fenced like that? Because this is
Well,
still
well,
driveway
again,
area,
that's-
right?
Yeah, no, but that's access into my backyard.
Okay. Why can't you have, where this stockade fence is,
Mm-hmm.
why can't it be here?
Move it
Why
back.
don't you visit that house?
Okay,
How about we do that?
all right, that's fine.
Because I'm not following the question.
Okay,
No, but I think it's a good idea to do a site visit, I think.
No,
I mean, you have something in your head.
Yeah,
The board has
that's
something in their
fine.
head, but I see how you want the fence doors up, gate up closer, and they want them back. So I think the site visit is probably,
It comes
in light.
off on the garage side of the house, which is not the opposite side of where the
Right.
apartment is.
Right, this side,
Right.
the right,
You come out of the garage.
Right.
You come out of the garage, okay? Immediately to the left is the fence
Mm-hmm.
and the gate to go into the backyard. There's no way to put that any further back.
So I think the confusion is,
Because if-
So this
in other
is-
words,
so-
no, here's the thing. On the garden side of the house, it's literally at the front.
okay.
On this side of the house, it is here.
Oh, that's what we just asked.
just asked.
Okay. Now you understand why we're confused. We thought you had a fence going across the
On
driveway.
this side, it's here.
Okay.
On this side, it's here.
it's the back of the house.
Come out of the garage.
So we're only concerned about the fence on the
Front.
left side. Thank you. That's all we're talking about.
Because the other one's behind or at the rear line of the house, which is fine.
That's fine. Now I get it. Okay.
So
Okay.
why do you need it in the front? Because you wouldn't need it to come before us if you put it where you have the existing 4-foot.
Well, it was always there. I mean, that's exactly where it was when I purchased the home. And again, if you go beyond that fence, you have the garden area there, you also then expose the central air conditioning unit that's sitting at the side of the house. Now that's hidden. It was always hidden.
But you could switch the fences, do the 6-foot in the back and put the picket in the front.
Yeah, but then
You wouldn't see
the
it.
central AC
You
unit,
wouldn't see it with a 4-foot.
you still think
Sure
it's
you would.
profitable if certain numbers went out there?
excuse me?
You think you still think it's
And
profitable?
that's, John, it's fine. I mean, I'm just trying to get it.
Yeah, no.
His application is saying that you're approve the installation of a 6-foot fence in place of a 4-foot fence on each side of the house. So behind your driveway, you're looking for 6 feet there too?
No. Well,
That's why we're confused. Because
Maybe
your
it's-
application says on both sides of the house.
right, that's right, because it is a 6-foot fence, and it is at the very back end of the driveway.
Okay, but that's
rear
okay.
line.
That's within code. So
Okay, well,
that one we're not worried
okay,
about.
Okay, so it's only the other side.
Correct. That's what,
Okay.
now,
The
you have a
left, the
picket.
left side.
Right. But so the question is,
Okay, as you look at the house, the one on the right side where your car and your garage is, the stockade, where it says stockade fence, you have a 6-foot.
Yes.
But it's in the behind of it.
And it's on the back
On the back side.
side of the house.
Fine.
Right.
Correct.
But on the left side, you have 2 fences. One is a picket fence, which is 4 feet, and then you have a stockade fence that's 6 foot.
Correct.
Okay, and again, as one of the board members said, why can't you swap the picket fence to bring it further up? And that would be 4 feet.
Because if you
and
look
then
at it
go back in 6 foot.
aesthetically, I think it's much more appealing the way it is. I mean, I would suggest any one of you to come by the house and tell me,
That's
and tell
fine.
me why
That's
the
fine.
opposite
Well,
approach would be
but
more
keep in
aesthetically
mind,
pleasing.
keep in mind, there's a code
I
in this
understand.
town for a reason.
I understand.
All right, it's our job to review individual appeals to
I
that, to the
understand.
code.
I understand.
So it's gotta make sense to us, really, that there's some special circumstance at your home that requires this, okay? We have approved very, very few, but we have approved 6-foot fences when there has been some issue, okay? There is an issue about, you have a pool, an in-ground pool without a fence, so you're dealing with that issue?
Not anymore, done as of today.
Done as of today, okay, all right. That's good to know.
I have photographs if you want to see.
That, it's not our issue, it's just being brought to our
Yeah,
attention,
no, it's
okay?
That was installed today.
Do we have any idea if this was a neighbor complaint, or was this? Okay. Sometimes,
Yeah, this
Things
goes back a long way.
Okay.
Because the house where Mr. Minotti lives, 13,
Mm-hmm.
that was raw land. And this issue came up when that raw land was going to be sold to be developed.
okay,
That was the start of it. And that's probably 12 years ago, maybe.
okay. I don't know, what do we want to do? Do we want to have a chance to look at this, and then,
Yeah, I would suggest, because
I'm not sure I'm clear on the need. I understand what you're saying. I think let's give us all an opportunity to
Sure,
get out there and look
sure,
at it,
absolutely.
okay? So we'll have you come back next month and we'll
Fine.
decide.
That'll be helpful.
Fine, yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, we're okay with two sheds. This was the only issue that they flagged.
Okay.
All right, so between now and next month, at least I will get out there. If any
Sure.
other board members can get out there, I encourage you to do so. And then we'll see you again next month, and we'll
Fine.
decide where we go from there.
Okay, very
Okay?
good. Thank you.
Thank you. And number 13, Appeal 3631 Foreman. Neil Foreman, 103 Spyglass Hill, Hopewell Junction, is requesting an 11-foot sideline variance for a proposed 12-foot by 24-foot shed pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening.
You're glad to see me, huh, because nobody's left.
and you are Neil Foreman?
Pardon me?
You are Neil Foreman?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was looking at the property address, and the property seems to belong to Mr. Hayden.
Yeah,
Why-
It's
we
a
just
recent
purchased a
purchase.
house in
Purchase
December. We purchased a house in December, and somehow the county didn't get
The
my
county
name.
records aren't updated
Aren't
yet.
up to date, that's what happened.
That's fine.
Yeah, it does
As long
take,
as-
it takes a couple months.
It does.
I just got sent, we finished the basement and got a permit, and they sent that to Mr. Hayden in Florida, and he sent it to me, yeah,
Oh, okay.
which was nice of him.
Okay. No, I just noticed it, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? So,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Is the shed there now?
No, no,
It says want to move 11 feet
yeah,
something and side.
your
Mine
code,
was cut off. Does yours have a
The same
little-
problem, I had the same issue. Okay,
Pam,
what
we
is
need
your
to- do you have the original
application?
application?
I'd like to move the shed 11 feet from my property line. And if 11 feet, it lines up with my property goes down a little bit.
Right,
And the shed, I got a nice garage door to match my garage doors to my home. So
Okay.
I'd like to line it up with the driveway. And if I go over too far, I have pictures here, I have a clean out. The house has a sewer, but it has a clean out, and I have the weight of the garage or the rock over the clean out. I have a picture of that I can show you too.
okay, so his application, I know our left side got cut off a little bit. It just says want to move 11 feet towards side wooded there.
Yes,
And then, no, tried to make side line up with the driveway.
Right.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you to come up here, because I'm a little confused. I understand you want to line it up with the side of your house.
Yep.
All right, and so let's,
Here, I can give you all these, I don't know if
do
that's...
you drew this on your survey here, right? If
Not very good at that.
Okay, but if I line this paper up, see, with
Yep.
your house there? All right, I'm pretty much gonna end up being here, and this is 12 feet, is what you're telling us, this
Yes, ma'am.
side of it.
Yep,
If here is 39.9, almost 40 feet,
right.
and if you see, the property goes out just a little bit, but it's actually a little
Yep,
bit
A
pie-shaped.
little bit pie-shaped, that's right.
So this is gonna be at least 40 feet. If I take,
More, yep.
if it's, right, it's gonna be at least that,
Yep.
but if I take 12 feet off from
Yep.
40, you're at 28, you don't need a variance.
See, that's not right though, because...
So that's what we're trying to figure out, why are you thinking you need to be here? You're not gonna be 14 feet from the side.
Yeah, yeah. I know it don't look right like that, but here it is. Here, if I can show you. I took pictures for it. Here's, how can I show you? that's the back, you don't care about that. Here's where it would go, where it's wood. I have little yellow flags if you come over. See the
Okay.
yellow flags?
Yep, uh-huh.
And if I come out here more, but I measured it, I did 11 feet, but I can move it maybe 14 feet tops. And it, or else it
What do we
sticks out in the yard and it don't line up with the, it don't.
What are we, then you're not lining it up with the house, right? Because you
No.
see, I'm lining it up with the house
Right,
here.
Yep, I know what you're saying.
And this house, your
Yep.
survey says it's
Yep.
almost 40 feet.
Yep.
So unless it's not the 12-foot side there,
No, it is 12 foot. It is 12 foot.
40 minus 12 though is,
I know what you're.
it's at least 28 feet. All you need is 25.
But
So you don't need a variance.
then I can't, if I go out there, then I'm on top of the clean out.
So then you're not lining it up with your house.
It's not lined up with the house, but no, it's lined up with the driveway.
Okay, your driveway's not on here. I
See,
can't help,
there's
I
a
can't
gen-
help you with that one. That's what the issue is. Okay, your application, you actually wrote, oh, you want to line it up with the driveway.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was the house.
No, no.
You don't give us the
Oh, so this
driveway.
edge.
So, do you have any, how wide is your driveway, I guess, is the issue? Because then your driveway cuts in to the 40 feet.
Yes. How wide's my driveway? No.
15 feet? I mean,
question.
It looks like the neighbor's driveway is,
yeah, you can't always go by those lines, unfortunately.
no, because the property line kind of goes through his house.
I went, I know the property line, and I measured it out 11 feet. And also, it slopes down. This is the last part of the slope.
Right, we understand that. We've seen other
Yeah, okay.
applications on Spyglass Hill. We're
Okay.
aware of the sloping backyards in that area.
Yeah, this goes
Okay.
down into the side, yeah.
Yeah,
Is there a golf course easement up there to the back of your house?
No, I'm just past the golf course.
Okay.
There's, and see, in back of
all
my
right, so you
house-
actually fit 2 cars on your
Oh,
driveway.
sure, you could fit 3 cars on
So
the
your
driveway.
driveway's at least 20 feet wide,
Probably.
Sure.
at
Probably.
least.
If a car's 7 foot wide, yeah.
And so that's why you don't have it, because then you're down to 20 feet.
Okay,
If you want to line it up with the 20 feet, that's why you're less it.
that's,
Okay, I think we've got the,
and,
Thank you.
and,
And
and
s-
right here, where I want to put it, is unfinished here. This is the neighbor's
are you going to
property.
remove those trees?
No, they're his. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't block, the back of it wouldn't block anybody.
Okay.
In other words, I'm not, you know what I'm
So
trying to
it's
say?
kind
I'm
of
not-
against the trees, and so
Well,
it's,
it's almost down to, yeah, that's.
it makes it less
they're rear.
visible that way.
It's not visible. And in the back here, there's a lot, they're gonna build a house. So if I put it this way.
Oh, so you're gonna have
They're
a,
gonna block, they're gonna, I'm gonna mess it.
you're gonna have a flag lot behind you.
Yeah, so so the best place to put it, it lines up with my driveway.
Oh, my God, that's,
It lines up with my driveway.
Oh, I remember this house.
yes. Okay, all right, I know
know
exactly
exactly
where
where
you
you
are now.
Well, that's good. 'Cause I go to bed.
Okay,
know the property.
let's just say this neighbor was extremely concerned about this gentleman putting a shed in his backyard.
Yes.
This neighbor,
This neighbor,
yeah, because he was in the back.
yes.
He's in the back.
And so realistically, there's a lot back here that doesn't have a house
not
on it
Nothing not
yet.
even sold, no.
So you don't have a neighbor to complain yet, but in essence, we need to be concerned about,
But
But
that
I'm
does look
way,
like.
but I'm way back, a lot. You can see how long the property is.
yeah, no, I
And I have trees back there.
These trees are grown up since this aerial.
Yeah, they're my trees. And then there's a driveway here, you know that. There's a driveway here, it goes down to this lot.
I will tell you, though, we did not approve this shed.
Okay.
So you may very well have some neighbors coming out and raising some
I
objections.
can try.
Where is
I think his location might be.
They don't have septic there.
Like, I don't have septic, 'cause- and this,
Right.
that's the clean out if you go over too far.
Right,
But you didn't approve a shed, but I could put a shed up 25 feet off the property.
correct,
Yeah,
correct.
Then it just in my
But-
yard and makes a mess. Then I gotta go way out in the middle.
That's the
end.
issue. That's,
I got it way out in the middle end. It screws up the whole
and
backyard.
again,
Because of the
because
width
this,
of the-
this yard
Yeah.
was so sloped.
Yep.
Yes.
Only down at the bottom there, was there an area that he could really work with the
I'm
shed?
not, I'm on the side, I'm not going to bottom.
I
And-
just-
And it's not finished on the side.
Just
and
need
it wouldn't
to,
be.
just need to warn you of
Okay, I got you.
the other objections that did come up on a
Yeah.
very, very close property application.
Okay.
I understand, you're working with the contour of the property, you're tucking it into the trees, you're, you know,
Lining up the
trying to
driveway.
minimize the visual impact of it.
Right, and you-
What are
you
you
wanna see from the
proposing it's
road-
gonna look like? Yeah, what would we see from the road? Okay.
I gave you a picture.
This? Oh, in here? Hold on,
In
hold
the
on.
application, should be a picture.
Hold on.
Or I can get a picture.
No, it's not here.
Oh, they took a picture. I have it, I can show you.
People have cameras on the street.
What?
People have cameras on the street.
Yeah. People have other things on that street, too.
And those, that famous. never-
Yes,
never-
yes, I'm
Never saw that before.
stopping there.
There it is, only, it's gonna have the nice curved windows and the door, a little 36-inch door in the middle instead of down here.
I've never seen that.
And I'll put flower pots and all.
It's always so nice to hear everybody concerned about their wife's interests, yeah. It looks very nice. What color is your house? Is this consistent with the color of your house?
Same color of the house.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Where's,
Yeah, I wanna do it
I
right.
mean, I agree, it's putting it in the middle of your yard is gonna be
Yeah, I
so
wanna
much
have it
more
right.
impactful to your neighbors as opposed to tucking it into the trees, but,
where'd you get that catalog cut?
That's why I bought the shed.
Okay, that was at Home Depot or Lowe's or
No,
something?
no, it's a shed place.
so where is the shed now?
I ordered it.
Oh, you've just ordered it, it's not
I
delivered yet?
wouldn't do that, like a permit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Good answer.
God.
Plus one.
All right, any other questions from board
I worked
members?
in Fishkill for 32 years.
Okay.
Is it possible to get a survey updated so that it knows so that we are very clear where the location is? Because right now it's,
That's the only survey,
This is pretty nice.
I got that from your office here, and that's the survey with just the foundation.
okay,
All
but-
right.
They said they have a finished survey, but she said it would take a month for them to get it out of the file. But I didn't get one when I bought the house, which is
I've seen
true.
those.
yeah, because if you had it,
So the town has an updated survey on the property?
Probably the finals for the
Yeah,
CO.
that's a town survey. I got it, the girl downstairs gave me it, but that's just
All
with the
right,
foundation.
I'm gonna ask you to do one, since it appears the town might have a, can we ask you to, you've drawn this line in line with the house?
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I
Okay,
just-
and that's why we were confused.
Okay, yeah.
So if you can show us that it's actually the line where you're proposing, it sounds like you're actually proposing to put it
Yeah,
here.
okay, that's fine. That's
All right,
fine.
you've gotta amend your application so it reflects the real location, okay?
What do you want me to do?
You're gonna go back, you're gonna see Pam, all right, and go back in and you're gonna redraw your square. I can't draw it for you. You
Okay.
have to tell us where it's gonna be. And then you have to show us that this is 14 feet here, okay?
Yep.
All right, but right now, you're showing it being at least 28 feet in. And that's why we were so confused, because you had it lined up with the property.
Okay.
All right, so just, we're gonna ask you, go back in, amend the application, and then,
Will you vote on it next month?
we'll, yeah, we'll
If
do
you
a
have
public
public
hearing.
Yeah, but again, as
and
well-
but we have to hear what the neighbors are gonna say,
I understand that.
okay?
That's
and
good.
again, also we need to make sure that it is 14 feet, not 12 feet, not 10 feet, not 15 feet, because it's not very clear where it's going to be.
Right,
Well, nuts.
Because right now, you're
Oh,
just
I
guessing.
marked it. No, I didn't, I measured it.
I know, but that's not it's not drawn here to scale, and that's why we need to
Oh,
be
you need to
sure
scale.
that what you're proposing is in fact I mean, if we approve 14 feet, it can't go anywhere other
Correct.
than the 14 feet.
That's what
Yeah.
I want to do, though.
It's a risk that you're taking, which is fine, I mean.
Yeah, in the meantime, try to find the survey that's here in town, and to the extent that you can draw it in on the updated survey,
Looks like Mr.
show
Oswald.
show us the driveway, all right? That's what we're lining it up with. There's just nothing
Where would
here.
I get, where would I get that survey?
I saw him.
Who's gonna have his
There's a
as
survey
built?
that's-
Building department,
I
or?
know, but he had a survey by Mr.
There's a
Oswald in his
survey
book.
right
His book.
here, yeah.
It's Mr. Oswald.
Call,
Or if I call him, I can get one?
Yes,
yeah, see if he'll update it.
yeah, just
Okay.
have it updated.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll bring it into you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
He worked on the survey.
Well, when you get it, it
you
might
get
take
it,
you a
yeah.
day or
Might
so
not
to
get
get
it
it. All right?
Just give it to her.
And then you'll come in and amend it? I
Yeah.
mean, you can take this page, just so you understand what we're talking about.
Yep,
I just can't draw it for you,
I understand.
okay?
Right.
Yep.
And again, if you're gonna talk to the architect or the surveyor, just have them put it up there for us, So they can much easier do it for you, measure it so that it's much clearer.
Yeah, he's probably got it on computer and would be able
Yeah,
to generate it
just
very
generate it.
quickly.
Pop it right in on the computer, yep.
Correct.
Okay?
He's local?
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
on the corner.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, so do I have a motion to put this on for public hearing for next month?
Motion to advertise, yeah.
For an 11-foot
Second.
or a 14?
For a 14-foot.
Is that what,
No, that's what,
12 by 24?
No, it's
Oh,
14
it's-
feet from, which would make it 11.
so it's 11 feet.
For 11
Got
foot
it, you're gonna have to correct what I, okay, so
Okay.
it's 11-foot sideline variance. And again, we're gonna hear from your neighbors. Fair notice, we may ultimately not get there, but let's hear what they have to say.
And if you could show possibly, there was a clean out basin.
Foreman?
If you could show that on there.
Yeah, because
No, no,
that's,
but we need to know the reason why
we
we're.
need to show the location of it on your property. I know, but show us on that survey where that is, because that shows why you can't move the shed where it should be, okay?
And again, if you tell the surveyor all of these issues, that you're coming before the ZBA, they will be exactly, they'll know exactly what they need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
All good
Much
things come
easier.
with paperwork, so here's your.
That's for your advertising,
Can't make it easy.
and you're gonna make sure your signs are legible, right?
You're gonna see Pam
I'm
tomorrow?
gonna come and get signs?
Yes,
Yeah,
see Pam.
It's a handout from Pam, and Pam.
Okay, do I have a motion, though,
Actually,
to,
go by that.
I have motion to advertise, do I have a
Advertise in
second?
June.
Where you
Second.
drop the,
All in favor?
where you drop
Aye,
your
okay.
application off, right here, come back.
Right
You
on,
brought it into me
Planning
when
department.
you, yeah,
Okay,
yep.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
we'll see you
everybody.
next month.
You confused me, you did good.
Sorry, we didn't mean to, your lying confused us, so, all's fair. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.